The salesman has something powerful and contagious. He or she is able to engage others in a way that inspires others and persuades them to do things they previously wouldn't. Its excitement, its charm, its energy. One such person is Chris Nunn, one of the people behind Australia's successes in the Paralympic Games of 2000. While Chris is best known for his work at the elite end of athletics, he is also a passionate advocate and speaker around all things to do with sport and disability. Chris could basically tell ice to the Eskimos. I have seen Chris talk in forums of moderately interested sports administrators and teachers and turn them into raving fans of all things disability sport within minutes. I interviewed Chris for this presentation, and here's a clip from that interview.
My first experience with Paralympic sport was at the 1988 Paralympic Games, and when I was there I saw two groups of athletes. There were those athletes who felt they deserved to be there because they had a disability. I was a bit disappointed in their attitude. And then there was a group of athletes who just wanted to be the best they could be, but really didn't have the understanding and knowledge of what was required. Having observed that and realising that I could make a difference, I was hooked. I realised that this was a group of athletes that were just thirsty for knowledge, and then beginning to work at the Australian Institute of Sport gave me the opportunity to lay the foundation for an elite level program that led to having the most successful athletics team at the Sydney 2000 Games, where 35 gold medals were won by our team. So it was a decade process of understanding and putting in place systems that ensured that athletes who wanted to be successful could be successful. I never considered myself as a salesperson, always as a teacher of sorts. And then it hit me going to Sydney that my whole professional life I'd been a salesperson. I was selling the concept of success to athletes, I was selling the challenge of coaching to people who'd never coached, and I was selling the concept of Paralympic excellence to people who wanted to listen. So any chance I get to talk to coaches, administrators, anybody about the most wonderful product in the world, which is athletes trying to reach their success, then yeah, I'll go out and sell that product any day. Am I a motivator? I don't think I'm a motivator. Motivation comes from within, but what my role is to sell people this idea that if you find the right environment, you can be successful. So yeah, I love the product that I get to work with, and I love selling it. And I don't think we do enough selling of what we do. So yes, are we teachers? Are we motivators? I don't think so. We are salespeople, and I want to share my vision. And why do people become embraced with what we're doing? Well, because they can see that I'm passionate about what I do. They can see that I have a vision, and once people share in your vision, they come on board. And that's a simple sales technique, having people embrace what you're on, trying to buy in. So the more people buy into what we do, the stronger as an organisation we'll be across the world, and the better off our children will be who don't have all the opportunities that they could have.
A large part of what Chris does is infect people with a quite blatant enthusiasm and authenticity. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He infects others with his emotions. The study of emotional contagion talks about mimicry as exactly that. The ability to transfer emotions. If I smile, you smile. If I cry, you cry. Emotion is contagious. It's not only a physical reaction, it's an emotional one too. You can even test emotional contagion through something called an effective communications test. Good salesmen have a high score on the effective communications test. Chris is a brilliant example of a salesman of sport for people with disability, but Chris is a salesman from the sports sector. What I think is even more powerful is if you have a salesman for sport within the disability sector. As it happens, we have one of those here as well. His name is David Swain. David works for an organisation called SCOSA in South Australia that supports people with cerebral palsy and acquired brain injury. David infects people with his enthusiasm for sport. He infects that as a person with credibility who exists within the disability sector. Now, similar to connectors and to connectors, mavens, and salesmen that carry with them the extra something, the extra credibility, is tremendously powerful within the disability sector. People like David carry with them tremendous credibility. So to try and encapsulate what I'd say is the ability to use words and gestures to convey belief, So I think that if you have a salesman within the disability sector, a salesman for sport, then you have great credibility. I think even more so than a salesman within the sports sector. It's easy for some people to come up with reasons not to do something, not to look for ways to include people with disabilities in sport. There are potentially a million reasons, and I think I've heard them all over the years. But a salesman with Chris and Dave's passion and belief, with their great powers of persuasion, can overcome all of these excuses and reasons, simply with the strength of their conviction and persuasive abilities. Never underestimate the power of a great persuader, particularly one that is in our niche and carries credibility. So, to summarize, there are 3 elements to environments that create opportunity. 3 types of people that, when they come together, can create environments that produce endless opportunities. The connectors are the glue that bind people together. The mavens are the knowledge brokers. And the salesmen are the motivators to make things happen. So now let's move on to the actual places where things happen. You may have your environment sorted, but you still need someone to deliver. So what qualities of a deliverer are we looking for here? There are 7 characteristics of places that I want to talk to you about today, and the first is what I call vision. In short, we need people with vision to see that little things make a big difference. I'm sure there are many of us here that have been in the situation where we are working with a group of people. We are exploring how adapted elements of an activity can make it more or less inclusive. To adapt rules, you adapt equipment, you adapt teaching style. All is good, but your activity is still not as inclusive as you think it could be. Then suddenly, one person in your group makes a suggestion that changes the course of the activity entirely. It is suddenly much more inclusive. The idea may be simple. It may be a change in the colour of a ball or a rule modification, or simply using equipment slightly differently. The idea does not change the integrity of the activity for the whole group, but it makes a massive difference to the way that individuals are able to be included into it. Was that one idea pure luck? Well, maybe. Was it a result of education? Maybe. Was it a result of natural progression of thoughts that you were promoting? Yes, maybe. But I suggest it's more likely that some people have vision. The vision to see that small things can make a big difference. Not everybody has this. These people are have very good broad attention. So why don't we all have these things? Well, let's take a look at this video.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The
correct answer is 16 passes. But did you see the gorilla? If you did see the gorilla, did you also see that somebody left the game halfway through? If you did see that, did you also see that the curtain at the back changed colour? Let's have a look at the video again.
The answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion. Learn more about this illusion and the original gorilla experiment at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
This video is part of an experiment created by Dan Simons about 12 years ago. It's demonstrating something called inattentional blindness. This means that if we are not paying attention to something, then we are blind to it. The thing is, in the place where activity happens, there is usually a lot going on. It's so easy to just cope in this sort of situation and not pay attention to the little things that can make a big difference. Dan Simons also refers to something called the illusion of attention. This is when we think we are paying attention when we actually are not. People think they are paying attention to the road when they're using their mobile phones whilst driving. They are not paying as much attention as they think they are, and that's why accidents happen. Inclusion, particularly ad hoc inclusion, can depend on small changes. Those small changes can be deliberate or non-deliberate. The challenge is attributing those changes to greater levels of inclusion. Say you change the rules for a practice volleyball game, making sure that the ball can bounce before setting and spiking. This clearly helps a person in a wheelchair be more included into the volleyball practice. The change is obvious and it results in greater levels of inclusion. But say you make a rule that the throw-in for football can be underarm, not always overarm. It's less obvious change in the context of football, but no less significant to an individual. Here it is more likely that we would have what Dan Simons calls change blindness. Now, just to illustrate this concept, take a look at this video.
The door study. This video shows a participant from a 1998 study by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin. Watch what happens as the unsuspecting pedestrian provides directions. The young man on the left is one of the experimenters. He has approached the white-haired man and asked for directions. Watch closely as two people carrying a door pass between them, and the first experimenter is replaced by someone else. Like many of the people in this study, the pedestrian was entirely unaware that he was talking to a different person. Approximately 50% of the people approached in this study didn't notice when the person they were talking to was replaced by someone else. This study was among the first to demonstrate that change blindness can occur outside of the laboratory. This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin and is copyrighted. It is available for use in talks, training, and teaching on DVDs from VisCog Productions. Learn more at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
Okay, interesting thing about this video that even the people that noticed the change, they still continued to give directions. We can be blind to the changes around us if our attention is not immediately drawn to the change as it happens. This is especially so in rapidly changing places where there is a lot happening. A momentary distraction is all that is necessary. In the place where sport and physical activity happens, there are hundreds of distractions. It's hardly surprising, therefore, that we miss the important things that can make a big difference. It's a special kind of vision to do this. It takes a special kind of vision to do this, to see the little things. This also has implications for how we organize our activity places, which brings us to the next characteristic: order.